I was gonna say, y'all want to hop into a vent call?
All right, we're live, guys. Give me 1 second because my view is actually messed up on my thing. We're ultra professional here.
Alright.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I've been, TeamSpeak is actually doing an update. It looks just like this.
Yeah, I hope they do that. All right, come on. I'm gonna move us over to the woke stream. See if it catches. I'm gonna check our audio quality real quick. Get this testing 1 2 3. All right, cool. Seems like we're good. All right, we are live. So today is what, day 6 technically? It's the 4th day we've been doing this, but I think this is actually day 6.
Yeah, it started on Monday? Was it or Monday?
Yeah, I think this has been going on all week. We are watching Woke as we typically are. I don't have any extra video. I mean, I do. I have more police brutality I could show, but I have not pre-prepped it. I've seen horrifying things. Last night was overall much better than it was in the night previous. I was just speaking with other Zach here, and I was telling him about horrifically watching someone take someone who was wounded up to the police lines and then get shot at close range. The person they were carrying died of head injuries.
Yeah, it's I think I saw what you were talking about. They had like a cerebral hemorrhage or something, and the police just like straight up did not fucking care.
Yeah, they just shot the people trying to help bring them to the front line, and then they just didn't care. There's also been another casualty. I believe this is in Florida. I don't remember. A young woman died of tear gas inhalation. And someone else has died in police custody. And what makes the police custody one perplexing was that they also died of tear gas inhalation, but not like they weren't held and it was a long time. Like someone tear gassed them while they were in their cell. So, yeah. And there's not a lot of details on that. That's just the coroner's report and a lot of questions. So, like anything else would just be us, hypothesizing how the hell that could possibly happen. Any imagination, it's probably not good. So,
yeah. Is the police riding with those protesters in Denver?
Wait. On the feed?
Yeah.
Denver.
It like some officers on bikes. Maybe it could be the protesters though.
Yeah, I don't see any police officers. I'm 100% about police officers actually participating in the protest and not being douchebags. Unfortunately, what we've seen is that like the day crew will act really nice for the photo op, and then the night crew will start abusing people. It's crazy. Seattle, Washington, on the 2 on the right. What's made that interesting is that is actually a continuous line now. They're no longer dispersing. They are holding fast all night, and it's day 3 of this. 3 days ago, they got a flashbang up, and after that they reformed the line. They've just never left. There's no longer police at their line that's visible from the webcam. That webcam that's set up to view them is an apartment that's held that spot for the entire time they've been there. So it's a couple who lives in that apartment that has a good view of everything, and they've just been going ever since. Peachy Rider from Atlanta, Georgia was walking with Mayor Bottoms today, and everyone was chanting to end the curfew, but I don't know if she has. I know someone told me that LA may have ended their curfew, capitulating with protesters demanding an end to the curfew. The city of Los Angeles has also slashed funding for the police by a lot of money. I don't think it's like cleanly half, but it's like a large chunk of their budget has been cut off and is going to be instead utilized to uplift traditionally black and minority areas, which was one of their demands of that city. So that's been positive progress. Anybody else got any other news?
I just was looking up the curfew for Los Angeles, and I don't know if they removed the curfew. They said they weren't going to enforce it.
Okay.
That's what I'm seeing here.
It seems that as the protests have gone on, the response from police has slowed down, but the actual protests are increasing, which is good. Peaceful protest increasing is actually incredibly good. I haven't heard any actual legitimate claims of rioting out of the past 2 days either. Volume a little bit. Yeah, Atlanta, Georgia, that's downtown. That's not too far away from CNN. That's Centennial, you see a little bit in the background. That looks like the... Yeah, it's not too far away from CNN. I do see National Guard in the background on the top feed from Atlanta, CBS. So we still have a moderately heavy police presence.
Am I back?
Okay, yes, you're good. I can hear you, Zach.
Cool. Did y'all see the rumor that Minneapolis is considering dissolving their police force?
Oh no, I did not see that rumor.
Yeah, there's a reason I'm saying rumor, because it's something I saw on Facebook, and that seems like an incredibly drastic measure, but...
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed by Los Angeles' measure. Let me see if I could find the actual article real quick. I know I saved it on Facebook.
Yeah, I heard you talking about it. It's like between $100 and $150 million cut, and they're refocusing it into community programs.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that is a massive cut to their budget. Yep. 100 million to 150 million. That has to be like a third of their budget. But I mean, that's got to be a huge chunk.
I mean, proportionally, like, regardless of what proportion it is, you can still do a lot in community programs with, you know, split the difference, called $125 million.
Right, absolutely. Students, schools, after-school community programs, libraries.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you guys are picking up the crap I'm doing in the background. I thought these things had a noise-canceling function, but apparently they don't.
No, we hear you chopping vegetables and making making dinner. It's okay. It is not by far the least professional thing I've done on a recorded podcast of any kind or any broadcast whatsoever. I recently did a men's victims podcast, which is on my Facebook, and it all had to be cut out. But there was a dude in the UK that was literally chopping onions, like the entire time. Like the dude was a chef.
Oh God!
And he just like, you know, and we kept telling him to stop, and he's like, I think it was his job. I think he literally like was joining us with headphones in and like phone stuffed in his pocket, and he was just chopping onions the entire time for like a 2-hour-long recording session. And the person who ended up compiling all of that had to cut all that noise out. It was kind of glorious. You can even hear some of the cuts.
Nice.
I know, right? So
yeah.
Don't feel bad.
Well, I was actually feeding my cat, and I'm surprised you couldn't hear her either. She can be a little vocal, you little shit.
I know that. I know that pain.
That's why I prefer cats to dogs.
Yeah, I feel you, Don. Other news to talk about. So Trump has flooded D.C. with law enforcement officers. It was pointed out by Chris yesterday that there were from the corrections, like the police corrections facilities, who are not trained in domestic police, you know, whatsoever. They're trained to go in hard and loud during like police riots and stuff like that. They have returned during the day in DC, and many of them are not wearing any insignias whatsoever.
Right, and the one person who approached them to ask what their deal was, he's like, yeah, I'm from the Department of Justice, and any further details was, I'm from the Department of Justice.
Yeah, which the Department of Justice doesn't maintain its own independent force of any kind.
Well, I think it's also just amusing that they're like, oh yeah, let's talk to these dudes that are kitted out, and it's like, I'm from the Department of Justice. It's like, anyone else getting a Judge Dredd fucking vibe out of this?
Right. Judge Dredd, for anyone out here who is watching the stream or sees us recording after the fact, is a UK parody of how terrible American fascism can be. That's the intention of that comic. Jesus. And you're right, it's just like Judge Dredd.
I am the law.
Yeah. The law!
Or if you're... Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're going the Stallone version, it's I am the law!
Law!
I am the law.
Yeah. Right.
I have to admit that I kind of prefer Carl Urban over,
Well, his is a one-to-one.
Seagal.
Yeah, his is more of a one-to-one remake of some of the comics. More of, it's not like actually a one-to-one, but it's more reminiscent of what the comics are like, and it was a pretty good take on it. I wish they would do a movie of some of the more biting social commentary that's really relevant today, because it's about police brutality, a police state, repression, and what it does to former democracies and the politics around that. Incredibly relevant. Other news...
I was going to say, if we want to take that cynical route on it, that we can count on Hollywood making movies about it because it'll make them money.
That's true. Absolutely. I'm sure we will actually probably see a Judge Dredd that has some of this commentary on it.
Or at least a Dredd-esque.
Yeah. So in other news, there was a racist man who tried to run over people in Queens. Whitestone. He had Wolverine claws he'd fashioned as well.
Oh, I think I saw that.
Yeah. Elder-looking gentleman trying to attack people.
Yep.
White nationalist.
Remember, media is the one who's whipping up the divisiveness, but the only stories that I've seen so far that aren't about looters are about, like, early, late-age white dudes opening fire or trying to attack protesters.
Right, and that's in stark contrast to the coverage that we've given and that Woke has given in other places, is we've been watching this straight for hours on live feeds from the ground, and that has not been the actual story that's going on. It is totally different if you're actually there and participating. You know, we have Denver, Colorado, and it's basically a parade. Seattle, Washington has been holding vigil for 3 days, and the only violence that's happened has been the police. We've had numerous places that have just gone, that has been going strong, and most of the violence has been police originated, but protesters have not been causing lots of damage since, in any way, and then rioting hasn't happened except for maybe the first 2 days. I've seen almost no rioting of any credible source past the first 2 days of this. Earlier in the week.
I'm actually kind of, on that note, I'm actually kind of curious, because a lot of the things that I've seen were protesters policing themselves and because there was that one video of this one live streamer who's like, hey guys, let's split this truck, and then immediately everyone around him was like, what the fuck is your problem? And the dude wound up having to haul ass out of there because they were about to fucking wreck him.
Right, and I think that's an excellent point to be made, is that in the absence of the police actually trying to instill real safety and peace, the protesters have turned to themselves for self-policing, and it kind of almost poetically proves the point that some of the protesters want. They want a de-escalation and a defunding of the police. They want less of a police presence overall, because there's a belief that is sometimes called naive, that people can police themselves. Well, that's what's happening, and the last week of protests that have been more peaceful has been because protesters have organized better and began to police their own community of protesters, and there has been almost no actual looting and rioting over the past couple of days.
I wonder how much of that has to deal with, I'm not a psychology individual by any stretch of the word, but I wonder if, by allowing themselves to police themselves, for lack of a better term, because it's something that's originating from within as opposed to being enforced from without, that that kind of like retributive violence that they want to enact is delegitimized because the people around them are saying there's literally no reason and no justification for what you're doing other than mayhem. Whereas if a police presence is there and they're the ones that are enforcing it, then it's kind of harder to say you don't have a leg to stand on here, because they can be like, no, I'm just pushing back against the oppressor.
Right. Right. No, I think you're exactly correct. And again, I'm not a psychologist either, but I think that's a good assessment. I think it's an excellent assessment. I also want to bring out, I know it's off topic slightly, but I also want to bring up, today is also the anniversary of Tiananmen Square.
Yeah. Man, it's too bad that Trump couldn't hold on to his shooting his shot for one more day.
Right? Yeah. No, that idiot. And I'm pretty sure he probably still wanted to enact the Insurrection Act and a lot of other things, and is being told not to, especially not today. But Trump has famously said that he looks up to the Chinese Communist Party in the repression of Tiananmen Square. So that's an actual quote from him, that he looked up to the way the Chinese handled that. He called it powerful, which is horrifying.
Yeah, but that quote was also sourced back to 1990, and I'm not trying to say, like, oh, you know, obviously he's changed his ways and has gotten better since then, but, like,
I mean,
it just seems to
makes
be
himself buddy-buddy with dictators and despots today.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm not trying to say... Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that it's... I always kind of hesitant to try and utilize an old quote against something that's happening and currently. And yes, I agree that everything that he has done since then and demonstrated has shown that he hasn't changed. It's just that, like, providing that in a broader context, to me, feels like less as though it's like, oh, hey, you know, I went through and dug all this shit up, and then it actually turns out it's relevant, so, yeah.
I agree with where you're coming from. I think it's important to note from, like, a historical perspective that Trump has always had this tendency. It's just, you're right, this isn't like a quote he made, like, this week or this year or during his presidency. It is something that he said earlier. I think it's important to note that he's had the tendency.
Yeah.
But his actions that speak loudly on how he treats the American people. What were you saying, Don?
Yeah.
Just as an aside, I gotta say, man, these Facebook ads are on point here lately.
What are you
fucking face masks, goggles, gloves.
I block almost every single ad. So in every way I possibly can. So I see almost none of them.
Shit, man.
At least you
Facebook's
get
been-
sensible stuff. I get stupid stuff because gay, and I get all these dumb games that say, "Ooh, you want to be gay? This is a gay game," and it's like, okay.
The profile.
Thank you for being the stereotypical woke brand trying to cast the whitest net.
Right. And that's something to discuss too, is that there are companies that have genuine solidarity with what's going on. I think Nickelodeon's ad was actually very poignant. I think Ben and Jerry's is very poignant. Of course, they're old school hippies from the '60s, so I expect that from Ben and Jerry's. But a lot of brands have put out some very generic sort of support that doesn't really. There's no action to back it up. And Publix in particular, I'm going to call them out, have been pretty terrible because they put out a very generic sort of ad that they support Black Lives Matter. Yet there are multiple reports that employees who are wearing face masks or any iconography, not directly on their uniform, but any sort of like pin, lapel, anything that shows Black Lives Matter, they're being told that they can't show that at work, despite it not being against their regulations or their rules. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder how many companies literally just copy pasted their, generic shotgun coronavirus response and then updated it for Black Lives Matter.
Right. No, that would be a good analysis to take, to see, like just copy all of the generic ass messages of support and see, how close they actually all are.
We are here for you. Please do not stop giving us your money.
Right.
What's the, you guys seeing the line of guardsmen in Georgia, top middle?
Yes, that is a line of guardsmen. In front of them are police. I'm not sure exactly where they are. I mean, they're near Centennial Park.
Well, what I wonder is, like, is this bottom middle one just the protester side?
Right. It's the same general area, but they're not pointed anywhere close to each other.
Man, if the guy in the bottom middle could just do a quick 180, because I honestly think that that's just two sides of the exact same location.
I mean, that does look like it's...
Yeah, no, he just passed the building. He's literally the protester side.
Yeah, okay, alright.
Well, I mean, now there's a guardsman in the way, but, like, so the building right in front of this dude's head that has that always lit pyramid on top of it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so Joker ATL just swept that when he did that 180. They're literally both sides of the same confrontation.
I see it. Okay. I cannot remember the name of that building, but I walk past it all the time when I take walks around Atlanta. I keep
wanting to say King and Queen, but that's not it, because that's a single building. It's a bank building, now I think about it.
Yeah, I think it's Bank of America's building, or perhaps it's...
Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo, it might be Wells Fargo's building. The King and Queen are going towards Sandy Springs.
And
yeah.
Is that in Centennial Park, or the street next to it?
Centennial Park, some of that are the trees you see in the background of the top one. The way it's sort of situated, Centennial Park is like almost the center of downtown, and like north of that is the CNN and stuff like that. If you're walking through Centennial Park, you'll hit CNN, which is where the protests have mostly been. And a major criticism that I have given to the way this has been handled is this could have easily been organized by the city to be like, okay, let's host this thing as like a multi-day festival in Centennial Park and allow resources and stuff to be there. And
they're blocking them from going in there.
Right, yeah, they're blocking them from going in there because the purpose is to make the protest go away, to make it hard to protest, not easy to protest. If it were treated as if it were a festival, which is something we do in Atlanta all the time. I mean, we host Dragon Con, which is the biggest con in the world. We literally have a city's worth of people coming here every year, and it's around the same area. And we easily fill up that entire area every single year full of cosplayers and all sorts of insanity. And it is not hard for this city to come out and support that, and the logistics of that is totally doable. But the city hasn't done that, and I think that's intentional. It's been to make it difficult to do something that doesn't need to be difficult, doesn't even need to be illegal. It could be held safely, and it could be held for any extended period of time. And it would be incredibly positive, and that is an intentional choice to not have it run this way, to not have it possible for protesters to organize in that manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we were down there last year, or up there last year. I actually think we parked in one of those parking garages that keeps been showing up on the feeds.
You paid too much. Way too much. You don't do that, man. You get into one of the southern or northern or eastern, one of the outer MARTA rungs. You park in there, and then you get a MARTA pass. You MARTA into the city, and it'll cost you far less. And
the one day pass is like easily half what you would pay to park.
Yep, easily half where you can park and get anywhere you want.
We didn't want to do that. We wanted to have access to the car.
Okay.
Oh,
the aquarium there.
Yeah, the aquarium we have is cool. It's right. So it's off of the Coca-Cola Park and the Civil Rights Center that we have, which conveniently tells you at all times that it's sponsored by Coke. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get away from Coke advertising in Atlanta.
Yeah, except for that one time Pepsi decided to bogart us during game time.
Dude, that was fantastic. Like, I don't have a dog in the fight, but that was still just a really fucking clever play.
Hold on, everybody, be quiet for 1 second, please. Please.
Ooh. I just realized that. Oh man.
I got some more footage that someone has sent me of police brutality. I might put it on screen.
Yeah.
I'll have to verify it potentially.
Yeah, there's still cops in Seattle. They look like they've moved further back. Maybe they were trying to get out of that guy's camera. Because he has changed the angle of the camera.
Well, I wonder if they haven't just had a stalemate. And basically they're looking at it like, okay, the protesters have established themselves and they're not moving. So as long as we set up a little bit farther back, we can reduce the amount of personnel necessary while still being able to respond to anything they might start to do.
Right. This is actually a really important point, and I don't think it's an intentional strategy by any protesters because there's not been a lot of organization. But the longer that this goes on, the harder it is for city governments to continuously have personnel there, and it costs more and more money. And the demands that are being made, like there's a major 5 demands, but other demands that are on local levels, become the negotiating tactic works because the longer this goes on, not only is it worse that it looks overall, it's not just an image problem, it becomes a logistical issue, and you can starve the city out of the ability to have, you know, any sort of forcible presence. Well, you also just make it more expensive. Yeah. One of the best parts about being in a capitalist society is that you know exactly where the best part or the worst thing you can hit someone in is. Yep, the money. The money. My ongoing fight with Oglethorpe, it's part of the reason why one of the first things I did is I went online and hit them exactly where it hurts, and all of the legal actions that I have made against the university, I hate that it has to be about this, but all of them hurt the university's ability to access federal funds and creates fines and, you know, does that, and that changed the dynamic of the discussion between me and the university and trying to resolve my problem. Unfortunately, they retaliated towards the end when it looked like they was going to lose, and frankly, I can't talk too much into details. We are edging very, very close to that university closing at this point. Like we are actually seriously getting to that point.
Yeah.
It's just, which is sad because as much as I'll talk about how terrible the university has been managed and the horrible things that have happened to me and other students there, I liked the university, I liked the professors, I liked the education it gave. I just think that it needed to be managed with the students' needs in mind, and I think that the leadership and the board of directors, they treat that university like it's a park that the rich people own and get to do whatever they want with. Like, actually,
right.
Literally host events there that are just for their, like, own private companies to come in and do things and, like, weddings and stuff like that. So, like, I think that since they view the fact that it's a university as a highly secondary function of what they're invested in, that happens to sort of maintain, and not even maintain, it's had financial issues for a long time. I think that when I put pressure on the university where it became a loss leader, they were like, well, you know, we use this as like a PR place to meet anyway, so it doesn't actually matter if the university closes. I think that is literally the position that they've got in, they have in their head. You know, fuck that guy for calling us out on our bullshit. But if we all lose our jobs or anything like that, we all have fuck tons of money we can sit back on and do other shit. And the president,
I was about to say.
Yeah, and the president is already resigning. Like, he ends his tenure at the end of this month. You know,
yeah, but, you know, anything that involves some kind of financial aspect as a punitive measure, you know, rich people generally don't care because it's not scaled to income or their resources.
Well, in this case, it kind of is, but it's scaled to it's scaled to the university's resources, not the individuals involved. Since their money is separate from the institution, it doesn't affect them directly. So, like it would if it were people who actually cared about the institution, this would have been an oh shit moment for them to do that. But because the people involved are entirely insulated from any sort of real financial damage that affects them in any way besides where they go to work on a day-to-day basis, they still are as wealthy. They don't care, you know?
So, just to be clear, any kind of damages or, I don't want to say retribution, but any kind of like legal ramifications that they suffer from the things that have occurred to you are only going to occur against the university and not against individuals. Is that correct?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes, and that's how that's designed by the federal government regulations dealing with all the laws and regulations that they broke. It is meant to...
Is that a...
Go ahead.
Sorry, is that similar to the qualified immunity aspect of law enforcement?
It's not. It's not similar to that. No, it's more like it was written from the perspective that, of course, the entity itself is the university, and keeping the university going. Why would you ever want your own university to close? Like, it treats the entity involved as the university, which a lot of things are like that. And it is bizarre and perplexing that you'd want one to do that. But Oglethorpe is small enough, and the people involved are petty enough that that doesn't matter. And it's kind of very, very telling that it doesn't matter. So the people who ultimately get hurt out of all of this are all the wonderful professors, all the students who are not involved, and all the victims, and myself included. Everybody else gets screwed over, and all the people who did all the terrible things, unless we can do some Herculean legal stuff, which is in the back. People are trying to do that. We are trying to figure out how to do that. All the people who did all the terrible things won't actually feel any punishment whatsoever, besides, reputation hit, which they care a lot about. To them, this is the most horrible thing ever, because they care about image more than anything, but, Yeah, no, it's very, very frustrating from a justice perspective. It's horrifying. And you know what, to tie it back into Black Lives Matter, I didn't know this until I was well into my own fight, but an entire black chapter of a fraternity was, like a whole segment of it was, like expelled from the university over a Title IX thing that was almost entirely fabricated. And the reason why it was handled that way was it was entirely because, hey, they're black, they're poor, none of these people are donating money, they're not going to be, like, legacies that donate money, they're here all on scholarships of various kinds. We can get that scholarship money somewhere else, so just dump all of them and make the thing go away. So they didn't actually look into what happened and whatnot, and it was very, very sort of a racist decision that was made. So, it's, that happened before what happened to me. I learned about it later when some of them contacted me and explained that they had made an OCR complaint that was ongoing as well. So I was like, oh, how far along is that one? And, so Oglethorpe has been facing multiple OCR complaints. And other complaints from other federal agencies.
Man, look at these police acting crazy.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's...
They're not busting caps, so...
Sorry, I'm on like the other side of my living room, so I'm having a hard time seeing. But is that Atlanta that they've zoomed in?
Yes,
zoomed in on there.
That's Atlanta, and a guy's. Yeah, it looks like they shot tear gas in the crowd again when it was 9.
You're not gonna play.
Atlanta is going really hard with the repression as soon as it hits 9, with no attempt to leave. Other cities have abandoned trying to enforce their curfews, but Atlanta is desperately trying to keep it going.
I wonder if that has anything to do with Kemp trying to attract Trump for the RNC.
Yes.
I'm sure that's all it is.
Yeah.
Yo, can I go through, bro? I'm friendly. I'm friendly.
And they're using illegal kettling tactics right here, because these people are trying to leave, and they can't go.
Yeah, I'm guessing you all saw that, the guy was in D.C., right, where they tried to kill those people in a suburb, and this dude was like, no, fuck that, all y'all get in here, and he sheltered like 70-something people in his house.
Right, there's no footage of it, but according to eyewitnesses, the police attempted to enter the home and were threatening to arrest the man for housing people, and it was a very tense situation, but eventually the police left.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I heard they kept blinded too. It's like, no, we've gotten a 911 call from inside the house, and you have to let us in. He was like, bullshit, I did.
I surrender. I surrender.
This is what's happening to... This is exactly what happened to Damien 2 days ago.
Let's go. Fuck y'all, bro.
Is he out there, or is he,
No, Damien's staying at home. In fact, he's asleep on our couch right now. He's had a time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not trying to... I was just curious. I'm not trying to say that he needs to be, because, you know, bless the man, he's done what he needs to.
Right, yeah, no, he actually talked about going out again, and we've all basically been like, yeah, your health is kind of bad, man. You need to... It was amazing you went out once, but let's not do that again.
Together, bro.
I wish...
Oh,
I
yeah.
had that fucking Amber Alert on my phone. Anyways, we're dipping. Everybody's zipping this way.
Yeah.
Alright.
It looks like they actually let these people through this time.
We almost got arrested, but the motherfucking sergeant came through and told them all to get the fuck out of the way.
Nice. Yeah. That was the sergeant of the National Guard, I think.
I come in peace. Hands up.
Hmm.
Don't shoot.
Honestly, my concern is that the
Y'all are celebrities.
protests are going to ramp down by the time the weekend rolls around.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen when the weekend hits.
My pants are falling down and shit.
Because I know
They
that
got military.
Atlanta's moving its curfew from 9 to 8,
Yeah.
starting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're taking it left.
But I don't know, like... I'm honestly curious what the decision-making behind that was. Because I know that, you know, Georgia's opened up, so we're mostly opened up. Actually, yeah, I think nightclubs and bars are now able to actually
Maybe we are.
host, you know, regular stuff, so I wonder if that might be part of the reason is that they're making the curfew more restrictive and trying to get back to a normal Atlanta weekend.
Right, but that's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not going to happen. You can't have a normal Atlanta weekend if there's a curfew. And
No, I mean, like, in the future, because, like,
yeah.
I think that this weekend they're trying to be more stringent so that next weekend it goes back to normal.
Right. I'm not sure that depending on what happens nationally, that might backfire. Might backfire hard. Especially if this weekend there's a massive turnout and they decide to gas a bunch of civilians that are not hardcore protesters, but people who actually, you know, because now we have a lot of people who are unemployed doing this during the day. Because there's massive unemployment, on the weekend you're going to have everybody who's not unemployed come out. And, you know, a lot of other people with resources and stuff like that. And there's already, like, massive lawsuits available, legal resources for Damien. We have a lot of options to pick from.
Yeah.
It's a bit bewildering, and I highly suspect that it won't even be necessary. I'm pretty sure it's all going to get thrown out. Kettling has already been determined as an illegal practice by the police. Curfew, from a U.S. Perspective, is incredibly difficult to legally enforce. People who you basically have to be, and again, this is not legal advice, but from everything I've read, you basically have to be impeding a curfew. You have to be, like, preventing a curfew from being enforced, but, like, actually being out in curfew is not necessarily a breach of any sort of real law that can be, like, actually held if fought by a competent attorney. Yeah, no, like, again, most people pay the fine, and most attorneys are going to be like, this can be cheaper to pay the fine than pay me and fight this. But if you actually have someone, like, dedicated to get out there, it's not necessarily a difficult thing. And during mass protest in America, typically what happens is an attorney will take on a mass case and get, like, you know, the people who got arrested and detained will just get a letter months later going like, yeah, we dropped all charges on everybody. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of like a, not necessarily a class action lawsuit, but something along that line.
Yeah. Like one attorney will handle like a multitude of cases or earlier cases, and it'll be so destroyed that they'll just dismiss everything beyond that point.
Right. I don't do law very well, so I wasn't sure, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, people have to remember, and I had an argument with a right-winger on my Facebook feed earlier, this country was founded as a large amount of the American Revolution from an immediate propagandistic slash emotional standpoint happened due to the British reaction to a protest, and it's the reason why the First Amendment is worded the way it is in the Bill of Rights, is in remembrance of that, and a lot of other things that were going on during the American Revolution. So it's, from a legal framework perspective, protesting and being out and gathering and assembling is something very, very difficult to outlaw and curtail in American legal structure. Like,
I'm pretty sure that I saw the conversation that you're talking about and the back and forth, and the guy that you were talking to, I swear to God, was like the platonic ideal of a hyper conservative Trump Republican. Like I was reading, I was like, I'm almost tempted to believe that this guy is just a fucking troll because, like, I have never seen this many fucking stereotypes and memes used legitimately in a single post.
Hey, Keith and Don, is this guy is the guy I was arguing with? You know who he is. I'm not gonna dox him, but like, is this guy trolling? Is this guy a fake account? What do you guys think?
That's just it. It's like everything that I'm saying is like there's no reason to believe that he's actually a fake account. I was just like, son of a bitch.
Right. No. Don, it's the same conversation we're having in chat before the thing. We're talking about the same person from Albany. We both know.
Oh, the conspiracy guy?
No. The
other guy.
Yeah, the guy we know. I didn't want to use his name on live without But we grew up with him. I was the priest at his wedding. I know him. We know him personally. Yeah, we know this guy personally. He is 100% like that in real life.
Wait, you officiated his wedding?
Yes. Yes, that guy called me a cuck. I was the priest at his wedding.
I was about to say, it's a little fucked up to call a priest a cuck, isn't it? Like,
Over time, people just go home.
God damn, man.
Don was the DJ. He was there.
They feel like they did what they had to do and they go home.
No, actually, I wasn't the DJ for that. I think I was like a backup photographer.
Okay. I thought you played some of the music for that. I don't remember.
Nah.
Okay. Anyway, Don was there. So, yeah. No, now that probably puts that entire conflict on my Facebook page in a whole new fucked up light, doesn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was slightly, I wouldn't say vitriolic, but I was slightly a bit bombastic in the way that I was talking to him, but I wasn't, I was like, see for reason, but not like, I was way above board on that. But I sort of appealed to him at the beginning, but, I knew he was going to do that too. I knew exactly where he was going to go. It's...
Well, I'm pretty sure that, like, his first response is, like, is when he was like, this is the problem with you liberal cucks. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Yep, right out of the gate. Yeah, that's totally him. There's lots of people in our hometown like that.
Yeah, I actually saw that my hometown is having their, like, round of protests this weekend. And I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised because, when I was growing up there, it was just fucking Wonder Bread Central, so the fact they're actually having this kind of protest is very heartening.
Right. Oh, I agree. One of the other videos I watched, which was disheartening, but it wasn't a rural area, there was a group of white nationalists who attacked Black Lives Matter allies at a protest, and the cops arrested the person defending themselves, and none of the white nationalists. There's like 2 angles of that on my Facebook feed.
Yeah.
But for the most part, most of these are going well. But again, in Atlanta, violent police action against the protesters and illegal use of kettling techniques. Though Joker ATL there was able to leave, so past that.
Holy shit!
What's going on?
No, I went back to that Facebook conversation just to check in to see how it had expanded since I last looked at it. And I'm reading one of his, it was a comment from 2 hours ago, and I'm reading through it, I was like, okay, yeah, he's not super thrilled about what they're doing. And here's where it gets me, is, I'm gonna read up to it. The man responsible is in custody and charged with murder too. They did not even give the justice system a chance to function, which that's not true, because just because he's arrested doesn't mean that he's going to be actually charged, because it's not to see whether or not the charges stick. And then, immediately after that, they want a lynching. And if that isn't some of the most tone-deaf shit I have ever seen...
Right? Yeah. Nope, you're exactly right. And he doesn't understand it, and he doesn't understand the racial language he's using. Not just there, but earlier, I think in the previous comment, if I'm remembering correctly, he calls all the protesters rioters. And that is something that was used in the 60s. And there's been a lot of sociologists and linguists have sort of, done a lot of research on this. When black people protest for their rights, even if they're peaceful, they're always rioters. But when white people do it, they're protesters.
They're protesters.
Yeah. So we have,
yeah, no,
it's
the same comment, because his out of the gate in this comment is, that's the thing, the government is not, quote, crushing lawful and peaceful protesters, quote, it's preventing violent rioters from causing more trouble.
Right, which is insane.
And it's like, it's exactly like you said, is that, oh yeah, all protesters are rioters.
Right. Because, so my response is posted evidence of what was going on, and it's not just that he doesn't respond to evidence of actual police brutality during the response of these protests, which are mostly peaceful. I think that some of the component is that he does not view any of this as legitimate.
I'm 100% certain that he does not.
Yeah, so he views this as we're watching it, this peaceful, legal, morally correct protest. He views this as a riot. That this is wrong.
It's illegitimate.
Right.
That's I was talking about this on the stream last night. Is that I'm quite certain that he believes that the police quashing these people standing up against the brutality and having these protests is the right thing for the police to do, because they're enforcing the social order and they're making sure that society continues to function, quote unquote, as it should. And so that's his entire thing, is that yes, it's good for the police to quash these things, because if the police didn't, then we'd immediately descend into, the entire United States is on fire and it's just total anarchy and everyone's dead.
Right.
And
that's the thing. That's the thing. These protests are specifically trying to address. Is there's that entire subset of America that has that mentality. There's a whole set of America that believes that if it is not the current economic social paradigm of wealthy white people in the top giving authoritarian repression and exploiting everybody else doesn't fit their paradigm at the bottom, then the social order is upended and everything is worthless, which is frightening and incredibly fascist. I want to make something really clear as a student of history. I do not like abusing the term fascist, and I've openly criticized the use of calling Trump a fascist and whatnot, because he had not actually reached that point of the historical parallel until now.
Yeah, that's actually something that I agree with. Leading up into this is that it's just like you said, people were calling Trump a fascist, or they were calling him or his supporters Nazis, and the problem is that basically they started too early. Yeah. And because they started using that terminology as early as they did, it delegitimized it later when they were actually doing fucking Nazi and fascist shit. And then at that point, people are still going, I was fucking telling you about this, and then because they had been using that terminology and pejorative as early as they were, everyone else was going, okay, but you've been saying that, you've been crying wolf for, years, so why should we listen to you now?
Right, and there's a great 8-Bit Philosophy video on exactly the problem that you're illustrating. That the overuse of the word fascist has watered it down, is that when you're calling out an actual fascist, it loses its weight to the point in which it makes it harder to resist fascism.
If anything, it actually hurts your by diluting it as much and then trying to use it. It actually hurts the legitimate claim, or not just the legitimate claim, but the entire movement and resistance, because it's like, oh, you're another one of those people, and it's like it further delegitimizes the critique and yours people against listening to it.
Right. But right now we actually have real fascist actions. Like we have repression of civil rights along a nationalistic and ethnic lines, show appeals to authority and force over rule of law and moral framework that upholds individual agency. Like all of the elements of fascism are actually in play, and it's very, very frightening to watch.
Yep.
Very frightening to watch. I mean, just to give you a parallel here, because Kemp is such a Trump lapdog, you know, once again, the Atlanta protests have been directly attacked by the police with a show of military force. But we have Washington, D.C. at the same timetable, and despite Trump illegally using a police force to disperse a lawfully protesting crowd and attacking journalists for a photo op, they have returned and they are still here. And they are still protesting hard.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It looks
That's the best thing they could have done, is just to have Trump do that stupid shit and then the next day go, yeah, we're coming back because, you know, you a bitch.
Right, yeah. And he is a bitch.
Can I just say how much I love the term bunker bitch?
Yes, yes. That is an excellent way to describe the situation, because, you know, besides that one photo op, he is not... He tweets in his bunker, but he doesn't come out. A good president, you know, would have come out to address the protesters' demands and then push to institute federal reform and oversight of the police, which is one of the clear demands being made by these protesters. And instead, he has talked about trying to crush them, trying to make them go away, you know, because it all hurts his fragile ego, you know, and that's what authoritarianism is about. It's about ego.
Sorry, I fell out of the conversation there for a minute, but I am glad that you were still able to make your point, because it's, yes.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say is that, because I cut out right around the time that you said that, you know, the things that Trump is doing is trying to project this image of power. And the thing is that, you know, if a president is in power and they are actually in charge, that...
We lost you there, Zach.
And follow the orders.
Bro, we lost you after if Trump is trying to actually exert power.
Oh, man. Son of a bitch. Alright, so the thing about it is that, you know, because Trump is trying to show that he actually has power, but it is not actually in charge. If he was in charge and actually had power, he would just say things and actually lead and it would be taken care of. But instead he does all these things that project this image of him being powerful and in charge, but at the same time, he's, you know, afraid, and he's doing what he can to get away from the American people. And what they already know is that he's not actually in charge. He's just a bully who got into a really advantageous position.
Right, exactly. You were exactly right. He's just a bully. You know, he's not a leader. You know, he's not someone who commands any real power besides the bully pulpit. And it's frightening how far that's got him and how many people support that in America.
Hey, but shout out to General Mattis for finally being like, look, dude, like, you're a fucking threat to America, and you need to go away.
Right, and for any conservatives who listen to this or watch this, I know a lot of you guys venerate the military really hard, and you guys liked Mattis a lot when he was picked by Trump. Mattis is well respected in the military community, and please read the words that Mattis wrote, because they are very poignant in why Trump is incredibly dangerous to America.
Well, so my thing is that I don't know if any conservatives are actually listening to this, and if they are, whether or not they will even consider what you just mentioned. And I'm not trying to make that a personal attack. It's just the other thing that I've seen is that anytime Trump is done with someone and they've fulfilled their purpose for that, you know, like month, as quickly as things are going through his cabinet, then as soon as he's no longer actually in Trump's cabinet or inner circle, then anyone dismissed or quits is immediately disgraced, and therefore they can never be trusted again, ever.
Right.
And it's just this, it's such a bullshit cult of personality thing, where it's like, oh, okay, well, if Trump don't trust you, then I'm gonna shoot you, to bastardize the term.
Right. Yeah, no, and you're exactly right. And that's how a lot of diehard Trump supporters act. It's a very factionalistic. It's all about loyalty. You know, and it makes it incredibly difficult to have any sort of intelligent discussion with anybody on that side of the fence to sort of show them what's going on, because it's not about the facts of what is happening or any sort of exploration of the dynamics of power or leadership, and there's no facts you can show them. It's about what he says, who is loyal, does he look strong, and this like weird fake image of what strength is. Yeah.
Well, remember, feelings don't care about facts.
Right. It's 100% feelings and 0% facts.
Because when I wear this police uniform, that is a symbol of all that racism, all that institutional racism. And so it's us being used to capture keep slaves and capture runaway slaves. It's also.
I gotta go back to my car and pick up my ID badge, so I'm gonna mute myself for a minute.
Sure. We have this officer speaking on.
Dogs to go arrest black people. It's like they're in my neighborhood and they're running, or they're doing whatever it is they're doing that they don't like. But they call police and either say simply, blacks are in my neighborhood, and that to us is explicit. It's not implicit bias. Like, that is in our face racism, and we don't react to that. If someone calls me and says there's a black person on my street, I cancel that call. It is absolutely racist. What we're failing at hugely is that we don't understand our implicit prejudices. And Thomas, our institutional racism.
At the education base, you are in a city that is so minorly mixed, and there's plenty of cities like that. You guys start with how do we deal with danger? How do we deal with that? It's about educating yourself on who the fuck you're protecting and who you're protecting them from.
Yes.
Of course, there are black people that are dangerous. Of course, there's white people, there's Hispanic, all kinds of stuff. But it's about educating yourself on not just black people, every single culture that you are dealing with in your city, and that's how you keep the peace. That's how you protect all lives. That's how you protect black lives. And we're saying, I'm not saying white people don't matter, black people don't matter, blah, blah, blah.
Can you go get that black female cop that was sitting in the corner? We asked another one to go look for it, but he didn't.
Yes.
She sat in, okay, she was over here.
No, it's a different one. It's white, brown.
I think we're talking about different ones.
I will. I promise you I'm going to go get her. I want to finish hearing what you were just saying.
Childish as fuck. Like, what the fuck?
Dialogue like this is really useful.
We do not need you guys against
Very healthy.
us. The moment we are grown, we have to protect ourselves from the world because the world has something against us for no reason. Well, there's a reason, because black people are fucking great. And a lot of shit that's here came from a lot of fucking black people. Whether it was African Americans, people in the South, Caribbeans, wherever. And we're not against people. We're not against y'all. Well, we're trying to be here and here.
When I'm wearing the uniform, I understood quickly that I had to work super hard. That felt completely on me. I had to get past all the symbolism that is built into this uniform that I'm wearing and all that history in order to get to the interaction that you were talking about. Some of my absolute best and favorite parts of my 19-year career was the interactions that you were telling me about.
It's not about you. It's about the system.
We were talking about the black culture that we're totally missing out on, that we're not educated on.
It's not about black culture. It's about systemic racism being built into this country, and you existing to uphold and protect it.
Well, this conversation has gone on too long.
I understand you don't want to talk to me.
We can finish this conversation as soon as she's brought here.
It's not that we don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to all of you, not just one. If we were here listening to one person at a time, imagine how long we'd be here.
So, I saw one of you guys in the stream say that we shouldn't give police a platform to speak. One thing you should understand about this channel is that everyone is going to get a platform to speak. I don't care what they're affiliated with, whether they support Trump, whether they support Joe Biden. I mean, you guys, you know, are on the stream to see what's happening, and if I filter anyone out, then you guys are missing out on a part of today's protest. So,
all right, and I'm back.
Whatever I hear, you guys are just given the opportunity to
I had to run through my complex.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you just missed a dialogue between a young black protester and a cop. And it was a very healthy discussion. I mean, there was some emotion and anger. Not really, I would say anger. But there was a lot of emotion there, and it was actually a really sort of positive discussion. So moments like that are good. It's just they tend to be punctuated several hours later by repression in some of these cities. Like I said,
Right.
that's getting better in some places, but not here in Atlanta. Just going through my feed.
Yeah, I was just creeping on another friend's comment thread, and he had someone in there. My friend was basically talking about how it's like, you know, it's time to revamp the American political system, like, you know, from the ground up.
I'm with that. I understand that.
Yeah, no, I'm very much in favor of that as well, and he was kind of like leaning into a direct democracy kind of argument, and someone came in and is like, hey, you know, direct democracy is just mob rule, because what happens if 51 whites, you know, vote to lynch 49 blacks? And it's like, well, I'm pretty sure the 49 blacks are probably going to have a little bit of something to say about that that's outside the democratic process, but, you know, it's never about, like, oh, hey, what's the real world application? It's like, well, here's why it fails theoretically, therefore it's not a, you know, viable concept. And just so fucking stupid. Lack of critical thinking.
I absolutely get it. I mean, a more productive way to revamp the system is to increase voter participation, and not through direct democracy exactly, but because you have to have people who are professionals that can manage full time some of these things just from a technical perspective. But use some of our modern technology so that you can have more representatives in smaller districts, and don't have the first past the post two-party system that we have, and make it more parliamentary so that there's more even distribution of people's political ideals across multiple parties, not just two.
Well, I think that a good place to start is, you know, don't suppress voters is probably a good, you know,
a good,
moderate solution.
Yeah, yeah. Voter suppression is a huge problem, and I've been caught on that.
Depends on how you ask.
Oh no, it's yeah. I get what you're saying. No, it's been a huge problem, and I have a black name. Most people from the Deep South don't know this. If you have a Jewish first name and the last name Freeman, that's usually a black name, because a lot of slaves and ex-slaves took names from the Old Testament to parallel with Exodus, and then Freeman is the last name given a lot of slaves that were freed either after they crossed the line, but a lot of them were given the last name after the Civil War ended. So my name is my name is Zachary Freeman, spelled with a CH, which is closer to the Hebrew. And without ever meeting me on government paperwork and stuff like that, anyone who is racist will assume that the race is black on there, and I have had all sorts of insane shit happen. All sorts of insane shit happen because it looks like I have a black name. Like, I've had my voter registration canceled more times than I can count. I think the last election is the only time it hasn't happened. I've always, like months before the election, the deadline to sign up, I have to, like, stay on top of it, because I have had myself be in the voter roll and be removed, and then get myself back on it, and got myself removed again. And I always early vote so I can catch that. It's insane. In fact, when I lived in Columbus, Georgia, I went in person to fix this, and I had the lady I spoke to actually say out loud to me, "Wow, you don't look like anything that you sounded on the phone." And I don't think I necessarily sound black. I think I sound like a nerdy dude. But she, like, assumed that a black guy was going to walk in, and she literally came super close to saying what she was thinking. She was like, "Oh, wait, you're not a black guy." And then she immediately fixed the problem because I wasn't a black guy. And I was like, oh my god, you racist piece of shit. You know?
It's nice to see that the Southern strategy is alive and well.
Yeah, yeah. It's so fucked.
On the streets, stay on the streets.
Sorry, I'm harassing my cats.
It's okay.
Apparently, they have a very profound fear of a tape measure.
That's that's fair.
He is unrecognizable. Did you know about that?
No, to be honest, I've been up here.
I know, but it doesn't. They're not reporting.
Or well, one of them does. The other is oh no. Yep, there she goes.
How do I read the news when I'm up here 24 hours?
Yeah.
Shouldn't your sergeant, your chief, be telling you what's happening?
So wait. Let's answer the first question. Where did the situation happen at?
All right.
In Brooklyn.
So what is the police department doing about situations in New York?
I know that you guys can't necessarily do anything about what's happening in other states. You guys are busy.
Wait.
So we lost the streams from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like they're done.
Yeah.
The riot situations where, for example, how are you making sure
Yeah, people are trying to talk to police and open a dialogue. I mean, that's really healthy. I'm not sure it's being handled really well right now, but it's healthy that the dialogue is happening at all.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is probably the best time to actually do it before anything has been really settled, and we're still having these kind of tense conversations or these tense confrontations. Is the exact right time to do it.
Yeah,
which is good.
I'm going to mute the audio for now so that people can hear us speaking, because I think it's getting a bit complicated because people are trying to shout over that crowd. But yeah, I think the dialogue that's happening is incredibly helpful now. You're right. What were you going to say?
It's basically just kind of expounding on that. Is that if things had already been settled and are actually like already been decided, and that people are like, the police won or the protesters won, then trying to have a dialogue at that point is trying to negotiate. One side or the other is basically negotiating from a position of power already, whereas now, because things are relatively tense and unequal, basically things are still equal because the outcome is undecided, so having those kind of conversations right now is the best time to do it and show that these people are interacting on a relatively equal footing.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And you can see that people can have discussions, they can have discussions peaceably on their own. They don't need an analog. They don't need to, they don't need an authority figure in between them. It seems like some of these people can talk on their own. It's just a lot of this division between both sides of the line has happened because of not just how politically divided we are, but also like actually interacting with a police officer is a very scary thing to do, even if they're off duty. And they are trained, and I know many police officers, they are trained like they're at war and that they're an enemy. And from a actual practical legal standpoint, most lawyers will tell you, and again, this isn't legal advice, most attorneys will tell you to just never talk to a cop anyway. Like, even reporting a crime is not necessarily advisable because which is a large part of the problem, because from a legal standpoint, anything that you give them is usable against you, and it means that you cannot build any sort of human trust with police officers if even the simple act of reporting something that is going wrong to you or around you can put you in prison if that officer decides to do that. And you could be charged with a crime, and you could be found guilty with a crime that you did not commit simply because maybe you called 911 and gave a description of someone who was trying to break into your own home, and you're the wrong color, the wrong person, the wrong place, the wrong time, and something you say get misconstrued, or the way that he reacts to you goes the wrong way. Or you could lose your life, which is what this is about. You can be shot and killed. It's a horrifying situation. It's the reason why I think America should adopt the Peel principles, which are principles that were that the UK police use, which is police by consent. And in the UK, the police are just civilians. They are taught they're civilians. There's no division. Like police officers often call civilians something separate from themselves, but in the UK, the police are civilians. The uniform does not give you extra power besides arrest. You're not allowed to carry a gun by default. You're not allowed to lie to people about the law. You're not allowed to mislead or entrap anybody. You know, your duty at the job is to help make your community a better place. And at the consent of the people around you, you can immediately be voted completely out. If the people around you don't feel safe with you there, you don't get to be a police officer anymore. And that's the way it should work here. Have I lost everybody?
No.
I'm still here. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck issue at work.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, don't let us bother you from work. I think we lost other Zach though. Yes, I think we lost other Zach. I'm going to put the audio of the protest back on. Oh, alright, so Zach's mic went down, but he can hear us.
Go ahead, go ahead.
So remind everybody that we're pulling from Woke Stream right now. Woke is another channel on Twitch that is putting this together from multiple other streams. That's the direct source. I want to make sure everyone knows where I'm pulling this from. They are also citing their sources. We're just providing commentary over it. We might move to other content later, as we did last night. They're chanting "Bunker Bitch." It's great.
It looks like they have less force in DC
than they've had before, yeah. But we can't see because of the line. So I think someone just joined the call. Zach, is that you?
I think somebody just left the call.
Oh, okay. Alright. That's join. That's the join noise.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Good.
Said. So, like, it's just trying to juggle Bluetooth devices.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yes, you missed them chanting "Bunker Bitch" in Washington.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you got it? You got it? Okay. I heard everything.
Kind of talk about regarding, you know, the only right way to be a hero in America, looping back to what you were saying earlier, is that is to be white, is, there was I don't remember the year that it happened, but there was a off-duty National Guardsman who was at a mall when an active shooter started going off, and the guardsman, you know, drew down and was, like, trying to suppress this dude, and he was black, and so when the police responded, they saw a black man with a gun and shot him without even trying to figure out what was actually going on the scene.
Yeah, we have this weird fantasy in America that if you have a gun, you're going to immediately be the hero of the situation. And I say this as a Second Amendment advocate. That's not why you have the Second Amendment. You're not going to randomly, you know, save the day by shooting the bad guy. And I think it says a lot to, like, the mentality of the people who believe that, and the sort of racist nature of that sort of culture, is that the bad guy is almost always automatically a black guy.
I'm happy
Which is why that happens. And it's awful.
Man, yeah, John McClane was white, but you know what? So was Hans Gruber, goddamn.
Right, yeah. You know? And that's the thing, is that, like... they want to be a hero from a movie, but in any of those movies, they didn't do that. You know, John McClane didn't want to be there. You know, none of those heroes were actually actively out there to do anything. And John McClane, I don't even think was armed initially.
No.
Yeah.
Take his.
Right. So it's it's an insane power fantasy, and that's what it's about. It's about power. And again, I'm a Second Amendment person. I'm very pro Second Amendment, but I understand that, you know, if you carry a firearm, all the safety and training that's required to utilize that power safely, and it's a respective power, not an abusive power.
Yeah, the problem is that people don't realize that every single round in your firearm is potentially a person's life, and they don't really handle their weapons in that kind of way. Did the network get on me again?
No, we got you. We got you. Sorry, I had to answer a message. But you're right. You're right. Every single bullet's a life, and you're supposed to be good with a firearm. You're supposed to be cognizant of not just your target, but beyond your target, because overpenetration is a thing, and you never point a gun at anything you don't intend to destroy. Which is, you know, again, you know, you have to be so cognizant and aware of using a firearm, you know, and most of the people who have that power fantasy, none of that applies to them. They want to feel like they're in charge and have power, and they want to be narcissistically seen as like the good guy, and even when they're not, and it's very sad and it's very scary. And most of us,
I think a lot of people
become cops. Sorry, go ahead.
Weapons and want to and do have that idea of being the good guy with a gun, which again is not all firearms or firearm owners, because I also am, you know, pro Second Amendment. I think that there are ways that it can be implemented better, but anyway, the problem is that a lot of people who have access to weapons don't see a weapon as what it is, which is a tool to end life, and instead view it as a way to project and maintain power. So when someone, you know, a lot of people have this idea that, oh, I'm going to draw down a gun and now I'm in control of the situation, rather than realizing that drawing a gun can turn a situation from tense into utter chaos in less than a second.
Yeah, and
if you happen to draw a gun, you've already lost control of the situation.
Yeah, and what's sad is a lot of police officers don't understand this. And this is something they should be absolutely trained for day one. Like, this should be something that is taught in the classroom, mandatory. But I have known personally people who've worn the badge who do not understand this, and they are not trained with this, and it's insane. You know, they too believe they're going to be this fucking action hero. Not. It's insane.
Oh, there he is. I told you we'll run into each other again. Damn. I can't.
I'm kind of curious what's going on with this New York City stream here in the center.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing a... Well, this is what they did a little bit yesterday, too, is they were doing a march through the city. They weren't standing in one place, because the mayor of New York has been incredibly tone-deaf. I watched him today speak during work on news, and he was incredibly tone-deaf, talking about how his police officers were reacting positively and that he was, like, proud of them or whatnot. Del Basiario? Something. I can't pronounce his last name. The current mayor of New York was actually elected on reforming NYPD. And then as soon as this happened, he is congratulating and backing them up when there are clear and present evidence of abuse of power. Like, one of the other videos I posted today was of a New York cop just shoving everybody down who had a bicycle. And there were people who were just, like, going through traffic. They were not protesters, and he was just shoving everybody down, you know? It made me want to record the clip that was on ABC News and then go in my editing tools and juxtapose it to the other footage where he's like, I'm so proud of how they acted and they're acting appropriately, and then footage of them shoving bicyclists down, you know, for no good reason. Like, he just doesn't seem to understand what's going on.
Really fuck up a moving object is just fantastic.
Right. And last night, Portland, Oregon wasn't as bad as the night before, but one of the things that was happening in Portland that pissed me off, and I have saved that. I need to save it externally so I can keep that guy's entire feed. He did a good job of covering it, is the police were shooting tear gas canisters into moving vehicles because a couple of blocks away from the protest, normal through traffic was going. So they pushed the protesters into moving traffic, first of all. That's a huge problem. And then no one was thankfully injured from that, and they were trying to get out of the way of traffic. And the police responded by shooting tear gas into traffic, actually getting one into a truck that veered off of course and almost killed a bunch of protesters. And they continued to do this all into the night. It was insane. Last night was not nearly that bad, but that footage is harrowing as shit. You know?
No, I absolutely agree. I don't know. It's just, as you're saying these things, and I'm looking at these feeds, it's just, my biggest concern is that the momentum's going to burn out, because right now there's a really strong, very vocal movement, and for some reason I'm just getting this feeling that once the weekend hits, it's all just gonna, burn out.
I sincerely hope not. I sincerely hope it continues until real change is made. This is a really important social point, but I absolutely understand that concern, and I'm cautiously optimistic that it won't, but I am cautious. Something else I wanted to bring up because I just thought about it. There's been research done that less than lethal tools that are given to police do not de-escalate situations, because there's a false belief that those tools are tools and not weapons, and that it's less than lethal, not non-lethal. But there's that false belief that it is non-lethal. That police use them more freely and cause greater injury and loss of life. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're trying to talk over you. I needed to let you finish your thought there. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. You're also cutting in and out. Yeah, there was the harrowing footage of the guy who stood up to the scrimmage line where where the cops were, and he was pepper sprayed, and pepper spray doesn't work on everybody, and the more you get hit with it, the more desensitized you are. So the guy didn't go away immediately. He didn't immediately collapse like some people do. Pepper spray hurts if you've never been hit by it before, especially if you're susceptible to it. Some people are more susceptible to it. So somebody just shot him point blank in the face with a tear gas round.
Yeah,
that could kill somebody.
Yeah, I've seen that video where he was walking towards them, and I think it was 3 cops break from their line to approach him, and one dude just lights him up with the pepper spray, or the mace, or whatever you want to call it, like you said. And the guy stops and turns his back to the line to kind of deal with it, and then he does maybe a quarter turn, just enough for the left side of his face to be visible, and one of the cops, like you said, just dumps a CS grenade straight into his fucking face from less than 15 feet away.
Right, and the actual distance of effective, what you're supposed to shoot somebody with where you're supposed to shoot the CS grenade away from is 50 yards. The training for that is you're supposed to be 50 yards away when you shoot that in a crowd to make sure that it's lost most of its velocity, not 50.
You mean you're not supposed to shoot some fucker in the face at point blank?
Right, And I feel like if we had that cop here in the stream, he would be genuinely surprised by this. That I think that's, and again, research has been done, and there's a false belief between some people that have these tools are not trained well enough on them, that they just think that they're Nerf guns. They know that they hurt, but they don't think they can kill. And then it kills somebody. It's killed a few people last night and previous nights. There have been casualties in this protest.
And they think that the end of the person being shot and not the fact that the munitions that they're using have a very specific application that needs to be used in a specific way.
Right.
Otherwise, you can fucking kill someone with your...
Right, like rubber bullets fired from standard ballistics, like out of shotguns and stuff like that. They don't have necessarily less velocity than normal pellets out of a shotgun. It's the way that right. It's that, and the material using that comes out of them is not as ballistic. So the actual correct way to utilize them is you're supposed to fire at the ground, and they skid off to lose most of their momentum before they come up to disperse a crowd. But over and over again have I seen footage of police aiming directly at people. And that it basically is just like, if you're too close to that, it's no different than getting hit with a shotgun. Like a normal round, like buckshot. Like it isn't any different at that point. You can tear straight through your body.
Right. It's I understand that there's a specific application for less than lethal rounds, and they have to be used in a particular way. I've never seen anything that says that a rubber bullet or a less than lethal round has to actually do that skip maneuver outside of that meme that's being shared around Facebook.
So, sorry to interrupt you. I thought it cut out, and I thought you were done. Please continue.
I think the battery on my microphone is dying. So the problem that I have is that I've never seen anything other than that meme that says that a less than lethal round has to bounce off the ground. And the problem that I have with that is, A, I've never seen an actual official source say that, and B, trying to control a ricochet is just a losing battle. There's no way you're going to be able to actually... And I was talking to someone earlier, and they said that it's intended to be used as a volley, where, you know, you already have the police line, they all do their bounce maneuver, so that even though you can't really choose a target, because you're doing that volley fire, you know, you're going to hit the entire crowd anyway. And that makes sense, but I've never seen an official source or any kind of like study or anything outside of what is effectively an MS Paint drawing saying how it's supposed to be used. Right. So I just wanted to have a source for that or something that we could look at in the stream.
I don't have I mean, it's going to be difficult for me to pull it up. I pulled it up on my phone. I decided to Google...
I'm pretty sure you're supposed to actually aim at your target with it, but you're not supposed to, you know, aim at the head and shit like that, because that can certainly be deadly.
So I pulled it up on Google.
And I think you're also supposed to avoid directly at the heart, because that too can stop the heart.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a dude who suffered cerebral hemorrhage from taking a less than lethal round to the head?
Yes. I would not be surprised. I mean, that's why you don't shoot people in the head. I mean, at the very least, you're probably going to cause a pretty nasty concussion.
Or, you know, people eyeballs, like
yeah, or lose some, or have somebody lose their eye, which we've had numerous cases of now.
There's a disproportionate number of people who are suffering that, so it's really strange that if you're being trained to shoot center of mass, that there are so many people who are coming out and saying, yeah, I've taken these bullets to my face and now I have lost, you know, part of my vision or literally my fucking life.
I'm just trying to pull it up now. I'm having trouble pulling it up because I'm having to manage the stream, so I might just have to read it.
I mean, I can just Google.
Yeah, I can find them. That's all I'm doing too. I'm trying to find it as well. But I have heard from multiple people, including police officers, that you're actually supposed to aim it at the ground. So.
I mean, if it's purely supposed to be a deterrent, I mean, if because only God knows what you're going to hit if you aim at the ground.
Right. It's meant to be a crowd dispersal deterrent. That's all it is.
I mean, at that point, why don't you just use blanks and just make some noise?
Because blanks are actually blanks. That's how Brandon Lee died. Blanks are actually more dangerous.
I mean, yeah, if you're at point blank range, but beyond that, I mean, if they were that dangerous, they would not use them in movies.
Yeah, was have a problem at point blank range, but it's also just wadding. So, like, I imagine that the lethality drop off is exponential the farther away you get.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're talking non-lethal within a couple of feet.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because when I googled it, most of the articles, like from like a whole bunch of health magazines, like Kaiser Health or whatnot, are all saying actually rubber bullets should just be banned.
I mean, they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're never used properly.
Right.
I mean, you get all these fucknuts aiming at people's faces.
Yeah. It's funny that we're talking about this. It's sort of a useless academic debate. I'm sure we could find a source for that if we dig deep enough. But regardless, basically most people seem to be under the impression that this shouldn't work. And my greater point is that even like tasers, tear gas, flashbangs, all of it, what ends up happening because cops treat them like Nerf guns, they're emboldened to attack people more with them than their normal lethal weapons, and it just makes them more aggressive, not less.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, I'm not going to kill them, I'm just going to hurt them.
Right.
And so they have no fear of using it.
Right.
Like violence because, like, oh, no, I don't have to worry about, murder.
Right, but then it ends up murdering someone anyway, Yeah,
it turns out nomenclature is important.
Right. It's less than lethal, not non-lethal.
How about we just call them PS rounds for pain and suffering?
Right. I'm down with that. But I mean...
Well, I mean, that's exactly what they're supposed to do.
Right.
They're intended to cause debility. They're okay. The bullet or whatnot. The rubber bullets aren't necessarily meant to cause debilitating pain, but enough to make you want to GTFO. Right. And the same with gas and that kind of thing. Tasers are meant to be enough. Well, both painful enough to get you into compliance, but also to stun you.
Yeah.
So that you can be subdued.
Yeah. Tasers are the one thing that can be safe, but unfortunately you don't know if someone has a heart condition. And one of the more horrific things, like this is what happened in Atlanta.
Well, it's the same thing with gas.
That's
it's for most people it's perfectly safe unless you have asthma or that kind of thing, in which case it can cause complications. Okay. Or if you're in an enclosed space and can't get out and they gas the fuck out of you like they did at Waco.
Right.
That's a fucking travesty.
Yeah. Sorry, Zach, what'd you say?
It's safe enough until it isn't.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, the reality is this: even if you don't use any of that kind of thing, and you just fucking tackle a guy to the ground, if they have underlying medical conditions, you might well kill them doing that too.
Yeah.
It's just the unfortunate reality that we cannot in any way ever be possibly prepared for every possible eventuality.
That's true, but with that in mind, I think what we're circling around to is that the fact that American police will so freely go to force, but not to force as a last result for all of the reasons we're talking about. The lethality of actual firearms to less than lethal weapons to actually tackling a person. Those are things that should happen like almost never, unless a serious crime is being committed. And a lot of cops, that's like the first thing that happens. If you start to walk away from a situation and you're not suspected of any actual crime, you just engage with a police officer that you don't want to have a discussion with and walk away, the sign of disrespect means they'll run and tackle you immediately. And it's insane. Like, the way under the Peel principle, nobody's called anybody for a crime. You're not covered in blood and it's not suspicious enough. There's no probable cause of any sort of crime. You don't fit the description of anybody that has an APB out. You have an engagement with a police officer. It's probably slightly unpleasant, but there's no actual direct threat of death. And someone decides they want to walk away. Well, that's a perfectly positive way to end the night. We're done. That guy's going to go get McDonald's, and I'm going to go my way, and we're done. There's nothing else to prove. There's nothing else to be done here. There's no reason to waste taxpayer money.
It's just like how in a lot of cases, more and more cities are stopping high-speed chases.
Yeah.
It's just they do not engage. They've got the plate number. They can track the car whenever it stops.
Right.
They just follow in the air.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a lot safer.
Yeah.
There's this weird kind of like instinct that's driven into people is like, oh, if someone's trying to run away, you immediately have to pursue and stop them for some reason. Whereas, like you mentioned, it's like, oh, someone's walking away. Cool. This situation just got less complex. My job is now easier.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of them take it the other way and say, hey, this just got a lot easier. All I got to do now is tackle their ass or tase them.
Yeah. Jesus.
Does anybody else want a grilled hamburger and a hot dog?
What?
Yo,
I mean, this dude in Washington, D.C. is grilling freaking hamburgers and hot dogs.
That's badass, man. Oh, now I'm hungry.
Dude, I had a pair of brats earlier, so I'm set, but I could always go for another one, so I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like this dude in Washington, D.C. is exactly what I'm talking about. There's no reason why Atlanta's protests need to be dispersed. Open up Centennial Park, man. Let's grill some hot dogs. I got some cash. Fuck the National Guard. Fuck if they don't fuck with anybody, they can join us. The police can stay the fuck out, and we'll just grill hot dogs for black people all day, and it'll be great.
Let's walk in there and, hey guys, you want some grilled hamburgers and hot dogs?
We will all enjoy food, and then we will talk about reforming this shitty system that's been systemically racist, and enjoy.
That's a great fucking way to go.
Yeah, you know.
Y'all come get yourself a hamburger and let's talk about systemic racism.
Yeah, I'm down. You know?
Get some food dye and have some black buns, you know? And, I don't know.
They would be considered intelligent, not uneducated. Not uneducated because of a language barrier. Not uneducated because mi abuelo doesn't know what a logarithm is. Not uneducated because mi abuela doesn't know what an idiom is. Intelligent. They would be considered intelligent.
All right, man.
Raise a whole household by herself. Raise a family full of empowered women.
Yeah, to reiterate a point that I mentioned earlier, I know there's a bit of silence, but I want to go back to that. There's absolutely no reason why the cop should be. It's all about projected authority, and fear of loss of authority, because we could all be in the park right now enjoying a good time and meeting new people. And we could talk about actually like drafting legislation that's functional, and making our communities genuinely safer and feeling freer, and helping economically people who are dispossessed. We could be doing this over hot dogs and beer, man.
And there are other reasons why I moved out of Georgia. I mean, there are so many reasons why I moved out of Georgia.
I'll reiterate that I really like ATL, but it's still fucking the racism's still here.
I mean, if you're okay with dealing with Florida Man, I mean,
Florida Man's a superhero. He's a national treasure.
That's awesome. I would love if there were 0 people watching this and you guys were all out here. That'd be amazing. Then I can just enjoy this thing and I don't have to show it to anybody.
So I want to make it clear real fast.
yeah, I couldn't. I couldn't deal with Atlanta, honestly, as far as like.
I absolutely love this city when things are going well. There's lots of places of improvement. There's lots of systemic racism. We treat poor people terribly. But like I mentioned a couple times on stream, my favorite activity, which I haven't been able to do since COVID-19 hit, which really pisses me off, my favorite activity in the world is no longer video games. I still like to play video games, but is to take the entire weekend, hop on MARTA, drop off a random stop, not pay attention to where I am, and just walk all around this city. I fucking love doing that. Be like, what the fuck is this place? This is really fucking interesting. Who the fuck are you? And then like meeting like all sorts of interesting people from all around the world. You know, it's like a super amazing experience. I just absolutely love doing that. It's a very safe city now too. So like downtown, midtown, East Point, Edgewood, 1 a.m. I feel absolutely safe and free to do that. You know, it's an amazing and beautiful thing to be able to just like talk to people, all the crazy stuff that I've been able to do in this city, because this is a heavy nerd culture city. I went to just before COVID hit, I went to a concert where a dude played Mega Man 3 live. He was actually playing it live, but all the instrumentation was a live band. So he was like a member of the band who played the game live. And it was awesome. That place was packed. It was a major concert venue here in Atlanta, downtown, and it was packed full of nerds, and it was an amazing experience. You know, it's just that we have amazing food, amazing bars, amazing concerts. You know, it's an amazing place with amazing people in it. We just gotta solve all these problems where, you know, cops are... You don't want to talk to cops, like, ever. You know, they don't make themselves available to talk to or to do anything with. It's really shitty if you have to deal with them at all. They do target black people disproportionately. They also target Hispanic people disproportionately. Yeah, you know, it's, you know, the class structure thing's a huge deal, and I got bit hard by that because I found myself in the wealthiest part of the city, dealing with the wealthiest people in the city, and they were all assholes who thought they owned everybody and could do anything to anybody. You know? And it was, you know, and it was shitty, and you know, but despite all of that, the city's amazing, and the majority of the people are amazing. It's just people who want to abuse power and privilege are the problem.
We're not keeping that one secret. So.
I mean, I would totally live there. I mean, like, I've had a good setup, you know, to where I know I could just walk wherever. If everything that I had in need of was within at least walking distance, I could deal with it. You know, I wouldn't want to really have to deal with public transportation too much.
I love MARTA. I actually just wish there was more of it. We kind of have that set up here. It's walking distance for me. It's not always walking distance what people would consider walking distance for everyone else. We're not in the heart of the city. We're ITP, but we're not in Fulton County. We're in DeKalb, and it's nice to be able to walk to the grocery store and stuff like that, and the gas station. But like, we have a MARTA stop on our corner, a bus stop that's there every 30 minutes. So under normal non-pandemic conditions, I look at my clock and I want to go somewhere. I go, all right, cool. So in 15-20 minutes, I'm going to walk out my door. Within 2 minutes, hop on the bus. MARTA is cheap, especially if you pay for it monthly, like $100 a month unlimited rides. You know, go anywhere I want in the city. Anywhere I want in the city, from bus to train, all the way down. Doesn't take a ton of time, not frustrating. I'll read a book, listen to some podcast or something like that, and hop off and get anywhere and go anywhere I want and come back and, you know, be done. It's really nice. And then when that doesn't work, or it doesn't work out for you, Uber is typically fairly cheap. Like, you know, $5 to $12 to get to most places you want to go. You know. It's the problems I've had with MARTA is that there's not enough of it. Sometimes super late at night, parts of it will fail. They'll just stop running early for no reason. You won't know why, and the app will say it's supposed to be there and they don't show up. But that's usually at the very end, like in the actual like downtown, midtown area, it works where it's supposed to. But once you like get off your stop and to go get on your bus, the bus won't show up. And, you know, you need to use Uber.
It's unreliable. At times.
I mean, it's typically late at night, not during the day. But that's the thing that everybody in the city complains about. It's like, man, just give us more MARTA. And it's the super wealthy people who don't use MARTA, because how dare they be amongst the people who go, ew, the dirty black people might show up in my neighborhood, and it's literally racism is the main thing. And I'm like, oh, you guys suck. You know? It'll bring more people to your businesses. Don't you want more people in your fancy-ass bars?
They can't afford to be there. What are you talking about?
Right, yeah, that's gentrification's one of the fucking problems of the city. You know? I should know because I actually lived in the gentrified part of it. In the gentrified fucking new apartments, going every day to the gentrified restaurants.
You know, it's like the apartments at the end of the street, starting at the low. I'm sorry, starting at the high 200s.
Yeah, which is a low price. It actually is.
From what I've seen around the area, it is not.
Well,
you can get a complete house for like $250,000 around here.
I'm thinking Atlanta wide, like Atlanta wide.
Maybe 2,000 people.
Because I saw an advertisement towards Sandy Springs. That was the exact same setup, and the advertisement was non-ironically in the low 400s.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And now this deployment's bringing the pain, man. 452 at least times. Do you really want to do this?
Understandable.
And then the others, do you really want to do this? Make sure you enter this exactly like it says on the next line, or we're not going to do it. Fun. At least they're not all doing that to me. That would be a real pain in the ass.
Don't let the actions of a handful of people reflect a group of 2,000 people.
But yeah, to own a car up there and drive in that traffic all day is, oh my god, that's hard.
Don't fucking do that. Don't fucking do that. I know people who own cars and stuff like that, and I'm always like, no, you leave that shit at home. Use MARTA. Don't fucking do that.
Yeah, that's why I was saying the only way I'd ever live up there is if I was within walking distance of everything. Work.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's actually not an impossible thing to set up here.
Yeah, because a friend of ours, he lives. Well, he lives up there. He used to have to drive to work from where he was, and work was like 5 minutes away, and it'd take him an hour to get there in his car.
Yeah, no, it's entirely possible. We have a famous saying here in Atlanta.
Atlanta's an hour away from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm less than 10 miles away from work. During rush hour, it takes 30 to 45 minutes easily.
Yeah. Now, where I'm at, traffic gets pretty gross. But when the college kids aren't here, traffic is like half of that because the freaking college kids basically increase the population by like, what, 30,000, 60,000, something stupid like that.
Yeah, I've seen that problem in practice before too. So yeah, sorry for everybody who's watching for not giving biting commentary. I'm kind of letting the stream speak for itself. So far everything's are peaceful.
Yeah, there's not much going on.
Not much going on, which is good. These protests need to continue and they need to keep going on that way. And in Washington D.C., we're still hanging out next to Grill Guy, who has the right idea.
Though it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow with Atlanta when the curfew kicks in at 8.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very telling.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm very disappointed at Georgia and Atlanta the way they're handling their protest. I mean, just basically shutting it completely down.
Yeah, every time. I mean,
and like the mayor was basically saying that protests are good and.
Right, and then not following through, and I think we're all in agreement that's probably not her. It's probably Kemp.
Yeah.
Because only the governor can bring the National Guard into play. The fact the National Guard are everywhere is entirely Brian Kemp. Like, you know, despite with COVID and everything, if we were holding these protests like a festival, I would 3,000% be there. And honestly, I want to go out there anyway, but I don't have a good plan of action. You know, if there was some sort of organizational structure I could be a part of, it doesn't work very well, and I think I'm just best broadcasting and hosting a discussion like this while we watch and bring awareness to the problems and talk about these issues. But I would very much like this to become a celebration of what we could achieve, and then actually achieve it and then celebrate the achievement, because we totally could fix this, all these problems. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but not I want to trivialize any of it. It's going to take a long time and a lot of hard work, but you could definitely actually do this.
Yeah, I mean, the protests are a great idea. I mean, we obviously have some issues, especially with the law enforcement. So, I'm all for it.
To yet another Zach just a couple of minutes ago, trying to find out if he was in contact with anyone who might be organizing any kind of medical response for Atlanta, and he also wasn't really talking to anyone. And I kind of wonder how much of that is lack of organization and how much of that is people, like, we just haven't really had the kind of police response that requires medical presence, and that they're not going out of their way to shoot people in the face with their fucking rubber bullets and brutalize the people.
Right. Yeah, after the first major night of protests, or the first two major nights of protests, I mentioned this before, Atlanta sits in an odd place where they immediately disperse the protest just as quickly and as fast as possible, using very illegal tactics. However, besides a small handful of incidents, they have not, done a ton of physical damage to people, unlike some of the other things that we've seen so far. We have Ray is in the chat. She is posting links to places you can donate to help with legal action for any of the protesters who were arrested, and various other important charities. If you are watching this after the fact, you can go to the VOD on the Twitch stream. You can click on the link there. If you're on YouTube and for some reason the VOD disappears on YouTube, I know it's a pain, but you can manually type it out. The links will be there. So they'll be saved so that you can always access them. But in the chat right now, if you want to donate, that's the place to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the reason why I keep asking if anyone knows where I can get in contact with someone running medic services, that also dovetails into why I currently wouldn't be able to make a donation.
I understand. I understand, man. It's,
Oh, but like I said, it's not going to stop someone else who may be listening or watching from doing the exact same thing. And so, thanks again to Ray for providing all of these links to all these places that people can go to apply the resources that they have in a positive and support.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, I think it's fucked up that some of the items in the what to wear are shatter-resistant goggle things to protect yourself against tear gas and pepper spray and...
Yeah, the fact that we have to do that at all is incredibly Orwellian, right? Like, it sucks that...
Well, it's like, when I saw the ad for the goggles on Facebook, they were explicitly unvented goggles. And I'm like, I know exactly why y'all are selling those.
Yeah, right? Like, the fact that this is a normal... Or you're trying to normalize the fact that we need to be able to survive police brutality is insane.
Yeah.
Because I still wait for the face mask I ordered a month ago.
And then, I mean, because what it should be is wear sunscreen, a hat, and sunglasses.
Right.
I mean, that's all that should be in a precaution. And maybe bring a change of clothes, because you don't know. Something could happen to your clothes.
Yeah, but, you know, that's standard festival wear. That's the thing, is like, if things were functional in this country, that's all that would be necessary. You know, that and that dude's guitar in the upper left is all you need. And, instead, you know, you have to gear up like you're going to war just to exercise your First Amendment right to protest, you know? And you shouldn't have to do that. Like, I was looking at Reddit, /r/Atlanta, and there was a dude who was, who made a metal riot shield for him to take. You know, to protect himself and other people. You know, and he spray painted Black Lives Matter on it. And I'm like, the fact that you have to do that at all is so absolutely dystopian. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but at the 2-hour mark, I'm thinking about calling it for tonight. I also want to be able to go harder, longer this weekend, because I suspect there's going to be larger, more protests on the weekend. I just hope they continue beyond that point.
Yeah.
I don't know how... I want to leave it up to you guys. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
I agree with everything you said.
You said you agree with that, Zach?
Yo.
Okay. I want to be well rested for tomorrow, because I think tomorrow is going to be a big day. We got like 3 minutes. Does anybody have anything else they want to add in 3 minutes?
Have you heard the tragedy of Dark Plague? Yes, the wise.
Oh my god!
It's not a story the Jedi will tell you. I really, really hope that things continue to become more peaceful as time comes, and I really hope that your worries, Zach, are unfounded, and that the protests continue until action and serious change happens.
Well, when you said that it just occurred to me that it's entirely possible for a protest that protests can continue and peacefulness can also increase at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
And I think because that just occurred to me, I think that a lot of people may be under that same idea, is that, you know, it's not peaceful if there is a protest, but it just, like we're seeing in the Chicago stream right here, is that these people are being present and they are showing that they have something that they want to talk about, but they're still doing so peacefully. They're being directed. They're going in a very orderly manner towards different places, and then I see them lining up cops as I'm saying this, so maybe I was speaking too soon.
Right, yeah. I know, but you're right. There's no reason for those cops to be there. They could just continue to do that, and it'd be done. You know, there's no reason why we couldn't all be in Centennial Park right now with a cookout and just be there, and it'd be fine. You know?
Yeah, the point that I wanted to make is that protest and peacefulness are not automatically at odds with one another. It's entirely possible for protests to occur and things still be peaceful. Not necessarily that, you know, it is a peaceful protest, because I feel like the term peaceful protest has just become this modern shorthand for something I can ignore. And I don't want that to come back. But I think that it's still possible for a city or a location at large to be peaceful while still having protesters present and making their voices heard.
Right.
Okay, so it doesn't look like they're actually blocking them in Chicago.
Yeah, it looked like they opened the way for them, which was, oh, and they're blocking traffic for them. Look at that. Look at that. Look at those police actually protecting people and doing their jobs instead of, like, trying to crank people upside the head. Look at that.
Right?
That's...
I'm glad you pointed that out, because last time I looked at it, they were forming up a line that was, you know, perpendicular to intercept the protesters, and now it's just like y'all have said. They've set themselves up such that they are now blocking traffic to protect the protesters.
Yeah.
What a novel fucking concept.
Right? You know? I'm gonna let the stream go long enough to watch them pass.
Finally, 452 plus apps bounced.
I just saw on my Facebook feed the guy who drew his bow and arrow on Salt Lake City protesters, who claimed that he was under threat, and then turned out that everyone reporting proved that he wasn't.
Right.
That guy's been charged with 3 felonies.
Wow. Wow.
Check it out, guys. As soon as they seen us, they just started forming in line. I wonder why they're scared. When we're only peaceful, protesting. But
yeah, we see Chicago where the police appear to have blocked traffic for the protesters. And then we have Los Angeles where they're being openly antagonistic.
He looks like he's cool.
So what you're saying is it's just a normal day in LA.
Right.
He's a killer. You can't see his eyes because he's a killer. He'll do it too.
That's right.
That guy doesn't want to because he has children.
Alright, guys.
A lot of them are sitting there with the batons in their hands, like, oh yeah, I'm ready for you.
Right. Unfortunately, the Chicago feed is sort of breaking up, but it looks like, again, they're blocking traffic for the protesters. I can't tell.
I mean, it kind of looks like the cops are funneling them too, so...
Yeah, that might end up bad. I was kind of...
I'm actually curious about that, because I've heard that, well, I've seen posted that, you know, the police are utilizing jammers, and I don't know how much of that technology really... Okay, well, it looks like the feedback, but that... My point is, like, how much of that technology is actually functional at all?
Well, jammers...
Because I know next to nothing about it, so I'm curious, like, how much does a jammer actually work / exist?
Jammers absolutely work and totally do exist, and they're absolutely illegal to use for a whole host of reasons.
Even by law enforcement.
Yep.
Or, I don't know, maybe 9 different reasons we're currently looking at.
Yeah, I can't tell if what's happening is what you were talking about, Kendall. I hope they're not kettling them, which is illegal. I can't tell what's going on anymore because our chopper from ABC7 has decided to zoom all the way out.
Starting to push him already.
Well, alright, so they had to... I'm assuming that these people applied for a permit for their protest. Well, no, because they've all stopped, too, so it looks to me like they weren't expecting this to happen.
Right.
Look at him, he's over there getting ready already. Look at him, look at him. And is only a peaceful protest, and yet they're over here trying to start things, and then they want to blame us for doing all this stuff.
Hey, y'all looking at this North Carolina feed where it's just a ton of fucking snacks for people to grab.
Right?
I can't, Sissy. I can't.
Yeah, this is what's happened in Chicago. Unfortunately, we gave the police too much credit. It looks like they've kettled them in to surround them. Come on.
Alright, I found this amusing. I just want to read it real quick.
Yeah, they stopped them.
Yeah. It's a meme from Facebook, and, you know, take it as you will, because it's humorous in nature. I will admit, I do enjoy seeing even the most cornflake vanilla Starbucks white girl I know from high school suddenly being like, oh gee, fuck the cops! Like, do you realize how badly you have to fuck up to get Molly the horse girl Googling Molotov cocktails?
That was made so much better by Molly the horse girl.
Yeah.
I know, right? Like, that's putting that little extra personal touch on it is just the important.
Or you can show them that, you know, how to be a real cop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it looks like I said I was going to cut it early, but now it looks like as the night has turned,
take a knee, boss. Take a knee. Do it for us.
more and more of these protests are, you know, again, the police are trying to crack down on them.
I know you could. You could show them.
What's
the Chicago time zone again?
Chicago is central, so they're past 9. That's the thing though, and I think I've rooted this a gazillion times. Curfews are very dicey legally. You know, they're not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, like, their legal veracity is very dicey, but that doesn't change the fact that you've got a bunch of cops out there who have been told they have to enforce the curfew.
Well, that's the entire problem. Police are law enforcement. If the law is not a functional thing, they can't enforce it. So it's not actually about enforcing the law. It's just all we have now. We've lost the law, and now we're just in enforcement.
Like, I understand what you're talking about, but I also want to point out, like, it's entirely reasonable that there are people who do not understand the law well enough who could actually get into a position of power to be able to dictate down to the police officers what they want them to do. And it's also entirely possible that the people who are serving in that force don't have that same education to go, that's not, or, you know, they actually are that intelligent, but, or they're that well educated on that specific part of the law, but they are afraid of trying to speak out in a culture of law enforcement officers who view themselves as a brotherhood, and any kind of internal criticism is viewed as a gross betrayal.
Right, and that is one of the major problems with police forces. That fraternal brotherhood thing needs to go the fuck away. They have a job, and their job is to protect us. That's it. Protect and serve the citizenry. They should not be a gang. There should not be a blue line. The person that you're supposed to be loyal to is the peace of your community only.
Alright, Chicago has had a curfew starting from the 2nd of June. No, hold on, that was updated. So Chicago has had a curfew. I don't know if it's currently still in effect. Alright, so I've got an update here from Chicago 5. Published today, updated 4 hours ago. Suburban protests and marches planned, curfews lift. Alright, so Aurora announces adjusted curfew, but I don't know how Aurora relates to Chicago itself. Let's see here. Aurora's curfew will now begin at 10 p.m. instead of 8:30 p.m. The city announced Thursday. Right, suburbs. Got it.
Pretty cool movement here outside the Tipsy Crow as 1,500 protesters standing and basically denounce any support whatsoever for any of these.
All right, here we go. Chicago Tribune.
Dollars talk, and a lot of people heard this message tonight that we should not support the Tipsy Crow. Let this piece of shit go under.
I think everybody fell silent because of what was going on in Des Moines.
I missed what's going on in Des Moines. I was still trying to figure out if Chicago actually has a curfew on the deck, so.
Yeah.
Wait, wasn't weren't we watching a different city in Iowa last night that was getting fucked up by tear gas?
Yeah. So Des Moines here is now singing. They just all received a message to denounce this bar. I'm not sure why, but and nobody's happy that this bar exists and wants it to close down. That's why they're around this bar. Apparently, maybe the owner's racist. I'm not sure.
Oh, I wonder about that because I've also seen something being shared around on Facebook today talking about, hey, here are all the companies who support Trump right now, and at least one of them is Wendy's, but I've also seen that story was a Wendy's franchisee.
Yeah.
So it was a personal decision made by someone who Wendy's has allowed to, represent them, but on the other hand, that's a personal decision made by a private American, so like...
Yeah, so if you're going to go protest major fast food restaurants, it gets confusing because most people don't know this because they're all large monolithic companies. The actual individual restaurants you go have franchise owners. And those franchise owners basically operate small businesses, and they pay a fee to have a restaurant that they conform to almost entirely the exact specifications of whatever that fast food restaurant is. So they all seem uniform, but in reality, like how much all those employees are paid, if they're given benefits at all, which is almost never, and other things are actually handled by some individual in a community you probably never met. And that separates legal liability from the major corporation and a lot of the financial risk as well. So this is like the problem with a lot of these things. That dude who said that for Wendy's doesn't represent corporate Wendy's. And corporate Wendy's, just like corporate McDonald's, is actually a real estate company, not a restaurant chain. It's complicated. It's weird. It is not intuitive. I always found the way that was stacked up to be an incredibly interesting way that formed in American corporate history. But if you're going to go boycott a major fast food restaurant over what some owner said, it can get really complicated really fast. Like Papa John's is named after Papa John, and shit he said didn't represent what the actual Papa John's owners so far that under their ability to represent the brand, they were allowed.
Didn't they force him out as CEO after some of the statements he made?
They did, but
and then the company went to shit, and then they brought him back anyway.
Yes, so all of that happened, but my point is that the franchise owners had so much freedom to use their corporate logos and everything that they created a separate website just to explain to people, and it was snarky as hell too, that they didn't like the actual Papa John person and didn't represent their individual stores. So they had the contractual ability to slap the Papa John's logo, to create a website that represented the Papa John's just to denounce Papa John. That's how confusing it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the way it is with any, really. I mean, because we've had the same sort of thing happen with Chick-fil-A, for example. The Chick-fil-A corporately does some pretty anti-gay shit, but the franchisees obviously aren't necessarily all for that.
Right.
You could leave out the pretty anti-gay shit, like they are just anti-gay. That's just a fact. But yeah, I'm not trying to detract from what you're saying. And I mean, it's both of you are just making the point that due to the way that laws are constructed and IP operates in America, it makes it really hard to actually pick out, like, okay, so Wendy's donated, I think it was like $200,000, like it was a substantial sum of money to Trump's re-election campaign, and it was just one. But like you guys have said, because that obfuscation exists on how it could very well be a local restaurant that has paid enough money to be able to put the Wendy's logo on their facade. Like, is it actually Wendy's? It's not really Wendy's, but Wendy's has allowed them to actually do that. So, like, where does that begin? Where does that end? What kind of bullshit is this? What kind of hell world are we living in?
Yeah, the cyberpunk dystopia that we've been moving towards is frightening. It's so frightening. But yeah,
like, we're very deeply entrenched in the early aspect of that already. Like, there's a video that I saw by a YouTube channel called Kraut, and he published a video called Trump's Greatest Failing. It is an hour and 8 minutes long, and he doesn't even talk about or mention Trump until the actual hour mark, because everything before that is talking about China and their history and why they have positioned themselves in the way that they have, and how they have done as much, and how the things that Trump has done has weakened one of the strongest global political players, which has opened up places for China to assert themselves, and why that's an incredibly bad thing.
Right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely it. Like, we were studying this in class because my major is East Asian, East Asia, and the current politics class is entirely about how, because of how Trump has handled this, this might be the Chinese century, like the last century was the American century, and that sort of decay affects the situation we're seeing now too in some indirect ways, and this will affect that trade war in the near future. This mass unrest will damage the, U.S. economy, and I'm not saying that's necessarily even a bad thing for the humanity of the world. If I honest to God think that if I had a wish, I wish these protests would continue until we solved even more issues beyond what's here. Not just with systemic racism, but also a massive social and class inequality, which is mostly black people at the bottom. I'm not going to discount that at all. But I would like to see this continue till we had like actual social justice across a multitude of problems in American society and economically. Completely redo the entire political paradigm.
That these demonstrations give us the opportunity to link that, and that, there is a very systemic problem in America about police brutality against Black Americans, but there is also a very strong component of that that has to do with wealth inequality and the way that capitalism is structured.
Yeah.
That very same YouTube channel, Crowd, there was a different video that I was watching. I don't remember the title of it, but he was talking about how one of the reasons why Trump won 2016 is because, and I don't ascribe to this idea necessarily, but his theory was that because so many left-leaning individuals got caught up in this idea of talking about intersectionality and this kind of very ivory tower projection of what is wrong with America, they kind of overlook the underlying problem of class, which is a much less divisive / it cuts less fine. Class casts a wider net. So by leaning harder into these concepts of intersectionality and these ideas of the ways in which different aspects of society oppress people and how that can actually multiply itself by intersecting, they kind of stumbled over themselves by ignoring one of the broader problems is that wealth inequality doesn't care about intersectionality. And intersectionality does exist. I'm not saying that it doesn't, and if I recall correctly, the video doesn't say as much either. But their point was that there is a much more immediate, broader issue that we could address and we kind of lost sight of that as members of the left.
I agree, and that's actually always been the left's problem. And someone who's staunchly on the left, you know, it's the fractionalization of what it is. It's difficult to get everybody to agree, and then it dilutes the ability to actuate power. One of the advantages of being on the right is that it's unifying to be. It's unifying to be a white, racist, authoritarian, because you have an ethno homogeny that you can pull on, and being authoritarian makes it very easy to direct people, you know, that agree with you, to do what you want, because the rules don't matter, and reality doesn't matter. Power matters. And it's a very difficult struggle to fight that sort of thing. You could fight it, and you could win. We did it in World War II and in other places, but it's an incredibly difficult thing to win. You know, it's horrifying to watch that sort of thing take root in America the way that it has. It's absolutely terrible. All right, guys. I really feel afraid for what's happening in Chicago right there.
Yeah, that crowd is moving out.
Going back the direction they were coming from, right?
Yeah. There's no reason they couldn't either continue to protest.
Kind of splitting off too.
Yeah. Or, I mean, hey, I will say this though. That's a much more better ending than, you know, them just attacking all of those people.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing that disappoints me there is their protest has ended.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it shouldn't. You're right. You're absolutely right.
I was about to say, it looks like the crowd has chosen to disperse on their own. You know, they made that decision themselves. And so I agree with you all that, yeah, it's a little disappointing they decided to do that. But on the other hand, actually, depending on how you want to look at it, that may be actually the worst possible outcome.
I mean, it could be, but there's also multiple days of protest. If you're just going to come back every single day, you know, it doesn't lose its impact. But I like what's going on in Seattle, where they're just not stopping. They're just staying there, and I would like to occupy Centennial Park here. Like, I really would. That's like Tahrir Square was occupied in Egypt. I would like to occupy Centennial Park. I think I'm going to call the stream for tonight, guys. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. I got to get some food and some rest. I think tomorrow's going to be a really long and hard day. I think a lot is going to happen tomorrow. So, thank you, everybody, for showing up.
All right. You have a good one.
Oh, be safe, man. Have a good one.
See you guys.